Ahoy, and welcome back to the Workaround. My name is Bob Gilbreth. You are in good company with fellow entrepreneurs and innovators who follow my stories from a career in tech startups and corporate innovation. I'm sitting here right now to make you think, smile, and discover a shortcut to success or a trap to avoid. 'Tis the season for annual offsites. Everybody's gotten back from the first conference of the year, the holidays, and it's time to get serious, time to get those annual plans out for the company, for the individual, for the sales team, all that kind of stuff. The kind of stuff that also leaks into Q2 sometimes, but the companies that are ahead of the game get it done in Q1. And I got to see my team, our team, the team, I'm still working on it, at A2 Influence. This is a company that I was an investor in and I was a chairman in. They had their annual offsite last week in Cincinnati. And I came away with some really interesting observations. Definitely new for me, being in this position of an investor and kind of advisor of a startup instead of the actual operator. And it was pretty cool. So this is about three things that I observed, which I call I crashed an annual offsite, takeaways from watching a very different way to build a company. You might recall 2 years ago, a little over, almost not even 2 years ago, I officially announced the launch of A2 Influence. This is the reboot of the startup that we started building in 2012 and finally fully sold after an earnout in March 2020. What we were doing with A2 is try to bring our dream team back together and deliver the same kind of click-worthy custom content and influencer campaigns that we did before. But, as I alluded to, one of the big differences in this reboot, and for my first time in founding startups, is that I'm not the CEO. I'm the chairman, investor, and maybe like a grandfather figure, which age-wise, I'm getting pretty close, as a few of our newer hires at the company are younger than my daughters. It's been a really unique growth opportunity for me, our CEO, Rob Reinfeld, and the people he has brought together. And in what feels like it's been a flash, the team has gotten well into the millions of dollars of revenue. They're profitable. They've built some long-term partnerships with many of the world's largest brands and retailers. Our baby is growing up already. And they're now also in the double-digit count in terms of the number of employees at the company, which means pulling the whole team together for an annual offsite, which is critical to kicking off the new year well. I was invited to join the event, so I didn't technically crash it, but I was really more of an observer than a participant. And again, weird. But it was a blast to watch this group kind of grow before my eyes, both in the 2 years before now and at this meeting. And in the process, some of the things that they've done have struck me, and some things that kind of seeing them fresh, some old lessons, some new lessons, I think are worth sharing with leaders who are interested in building better, which is you, my dear viewer or listener. Number one, you're getting a free MBA. When I was being recruited at my marketing job at Procter & Gamble in the late 1990s, one of the selling points that current employees shared with us is, it's like you're going to get a free MBA while you work. Now, they didn't literally mean that the company would pay for tuition, and most of us being recruited were coming out of real MBA programs. But the point was that the responsibilities you got pretty much on the first day would enable you to learn rapidly while leading a very big brand business. The company also invested a lot of money and time in training, and they were extremely transparent about the way decisions were made. A few years later, some of my P&G friends and I left the company to build a digital marketing agency. And when we went over there, we brought with us a lot of that mentality without really thinking about it. We regularly shared revenue and profit numbers across the company. Nearly every team member was involved in creating and presenting a training to other employees. And one thing I loved in particular was our CFO, Michael Graham, kept an open door invitation for any employee who wanted to sit with him and dig deeper into our numbers and how our financial decisions were made. His clear, patient explanations, both with the company overall and in these individual sessions, were legendary. So it was really a pleasant but not unexpected surprise when we heard our agency employees spontaneously say, working here is like getting a free MBA. Years later, at my startup Ahology, we continued this tradition of business transparency and training. Small teams were given ownership and accountability, enabling them to learn from their own decisions. And we had another star CFO who then became our COO named Ryan Watson, who I did a podcast discussion with last week. Ryan brought his own brand of very patient explanations about how our sausage was made. And then last week, I saw it happen all over again at A2. A small company with transparent operations working together to understand customer needs, discuss financial trade-offs, and make key decisions. So when I was asked to say a few words as the grandfather chairman at the start of the Offsite, I made sure to let our early career employees know that they are getting a business education that would serve them for a lifetime. A claim like this might be a recruiting message that's worth you highlighting if you're a small business, but only if you make transparent decisions, invest in training, and give plenty of ownership and accountability to even the most junior employees. Number 2, everyone is your team. At another point during the hours of discussion, somebody shared the story of a client who assumed we had a 20-person sales team because we moved so quickly. That got a big laugh around our group because our entire employee count is barely half that number. But behind this mistaken assumption lay an insight. This client had seen a high-functioning team that felt much larger. That's because each function is cooperating to deliver our end product and service. Our 2 full-time sellers are backed by everybody in the company. When there's a quick need or opportunity, everybody jumps in to help. But it's not just sales. Our design team is backed by everyone. The influencer team is backed by everyone. So is media, strategy, and client success. This is the beauty of the kind of one team with one dream approach. Everyone knows and supports each other to overcome challenges and deliver value to the client. Of course, it's a lot easier to get this kind of partnership in a small company, but it can be done at big cos too. A few months ago, I told the story of how our agency that I talked to after the company we built after we left P&G, we got to over almost 500 employees at an agency, a service business, by breaking our company up into smaller cross-functional teams that effectively ran their own businesses. They all knew each other, worked together, and we, kind of like I'm doing at A2, acted more like investors or chairs to enable discussions and help with problem solving that they had to go take on their own. So whether you're a small company or a big company working to innovate your internal structure to get this, something magical happens when your team clicks in this way. There's a separation in skills and tasks, but an equal desire to win. The only fear is in letting your teammate down when they need you most. And please check out that piece I wrote last year about how we broke up into small teams. There's a link in the show notes there. Third, becoming our best. Like any good all-company strategic discussions, we spent a good chunk of time discussing where we want to focus our client partnerships and product and service development in the years ahead. My usual default in leading a discussion like this would be to pull out some version of SWOT analysis, competitive landscape, or future trend spotting. But something else kind of organically emerged before we dove into any frameworks. And it was something that was pretty new to me. It was this discussion around what kind of work do we want to do? That conversation kept coming back in comments. And the theme really was around being strategic and leading our clients' thinking. It came out in phrases like, we're at our best when we give clients what they ask for, as well as what we think is best for them. Sometimes we even suggest smaller budgets than what they originally planned to spend with us. We enjoy making strategic recommendations, educating our clients, testing new tactics, and handling tricky brand challenges. And we know clients need this help more than ever and really, really love the chance to stretch our brains in day-to-day work. So, a big outcome of this discussion was a commitment to double down on our strategic thinking and partnerships. SWOT frameworks be damned. This is what just felt right. Let's build the company of our dreams. How did we get to this? All I have are hypotheses. First, since we're not VC or PE backed or need an exit to achieve some portfolio investors' expectations, we don't need to blitzscale towards certain industry-defined growth goals. This also gives us the freedom to invest our time in building long-term relationships with clients and partners. Compare this to last week when two friends on the client side told me that startups they work with are beginning to pressure them to, say, pull contracts forward or pay new fees for work they used to do for free. These startups, like many others, are feeling renewed pressure to get profitable or hit numbers that might justify another round of funding. And I've never heard of any client getting better service after a startup they loved was acquired. Second, the A2 leadership team, they have decades of industry experience. They've worked with the biggest brands and retailers in the world. They know that there are plenty of clients out there who want this kind of strategic thinking and partnership. We don't have to work with companies that treat us like order takers. Let somebody else have that revenue. Combined, we lack the fear-based pressure that most companies are burdened with. But whatever the reason, I'm thrilled. It's just a brilliant framework in its own right. It means playing to our strengths, and it's also a path to competitive differentiation. But more importantly, by aligning the work we do with what people, clients, and employees love most, the output we have is naturally superior. We do more work for a longer period of time with the types of clients who align best with who we are and what we want to do. On a side note, it also happens to be a darn good way to avoid the AI threat. But most importantly, this mode of building toward our strengths, toward the work we love most, means our team gets to craft the company of their dreams without requiring complimentary snacks or massages to distract them from the awfulness that too many other jobs entail. Overall, there was nothing contentious in the discussions. The closest thing we had to a fear and that day together was the threat of losing the special culture and connections we have so far built. As growth accelerates, there's always a chance that could get weakened. And we're going to grow. We see it. It's happening. If we're lucky, we'll keep doubling sales and staff in the years ahead. But at some point, we won't fit everyone into a small conference room, or we won't know as much as we do now about every other employee's likes, dislikes, and pets' names. But growth brings opportunity for all of us, in work and far beyond. It's just kind of baked into human nature. As we traded Slack messages debriefing the trip and time together, our CEO, Rob, wrote to me the line of the week. He said, "We really believe there's no problem we can't tackle." I can think of no better measure of what happens in a high-performing organization. Hey, if you'd like to go further, anybody can share a chat. Anybody can schedule a chat with me during my open office hours to discuss questions, provide feedback, network, or explore any topic. Something here got you interested, want to dive further, building your own company and want to dig in? Let's do it. My primary value lies in helping people strategize and self-examine and to discover their best path forward. I don't charge for any of this. I don't have a coaching business. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just literally trying to pay it forward for all the people that have helped me in the past. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn or by email. I'm also the co-founder of Fleet. We are a holding company for service businesses. We invest in leaders who are ready to start their own companies. We also do a little bit of M&A. So if you've ever thought about starting your own professional service business but need financial or other support, hit that same schedule link, and I'm sure we'll have a great chat. That is this week. Thanks for watching and listening. Ahoy for now.